You're listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast, hosted by Dylan Dillo Smith, Midwestern Ontario one and only MMA podcast, where we interview MMA fighters and voice actors like Sergeant Frank Woods.
What is up, everybody? It is Dillo, and welcome to another episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. We are at episode 50. Yeah, 50 main fucking episodes, finally. After how many years of doing this? About 2 years of doing this, and I'm finally at 50 episodes. I should be well on my way to like almost 200 episodes at this point, but that's besides the point. Today, we have quite a few to talk about. We have a serious situation that's completely irrelevant to MMA that I want to talk about that happened in South Korea. I think Saturday morning for us. It was, or I think it was like Saturday morning for them, Friday for us. But either way, it was a late night disaster in South Korea. So I want to talk about that. I also want to cover three fights from the Silva versus Paul card. And then we'll get into Calvin Kattar versus Arnold Allen and the way that event ended. So we'll talk about that all on today's episode. But first, we're going to jump into the South Korean issue that's going on. So I want to say October 28th, Friday for us, probably Friday night going into Saturday morning for them. It appeared that there was a huge Halloween celebration going on in the capital city of Seoul, South Korea. And it was taking place particularly in the district of Itaewon, which is basically a borough in Seoul. And there was a huge Halloween celebration going on. It was massive, mainly because for the first time in 3 years, South Korea has finally lifted the COVID-19 protocols. So a lot of them were, able to be upright against each other. They were still all wearing masks, which is cool, but, they were able to actually be close to each other, be in an area with more than 100 people in a small room, stuff like that. And here's the issue. It proved to be deadly for a lot of the partygoers. The celebration, started to kind of move towards a small alley area in that borough of Itaewon. And because it was a small alley area and there was so many people celebrating at the same time, it turned into complete fucking disaster. So what happened was all of these people started to kind of funnel into the small alleyway. And because there were so many of them and there was so little of room, it started to get very cramped. And the more that people started to funnel in with nobody controlling it, it got even more cramped and more to the point where there was no room for anyone to move. There was people being trampled, people being squished up against walls and stuff. It was a rather tragic scene, a very chaotic scene, as once it really got very cramped, there was people rushing for exits, rushing for, any type of freedom, any type of air, any type of space, and that just turned into even more chaos. The result of everyone being trampled and or crushed resulted in currently, as of recording this, it's Sunday for us, so October 30th. As of October 30th, there is a confirmed 153 deaths and another confirmed 134 injuries. And the I can't remember the actual committee, but the people who deal with these statistics, the casualties, the injuries, and when it comes to a huge event, like a chaotic, catastrophic event or whatever, they even admitted that 37 of those injuries, those 134 injuries, a lot of them are serious condition. So due to how serious their condition could be, a lot of them, and they're saying those 37 could end up being moved over to the death toll list. So another 37 deaths could very well be added after the ending of this recording. But hopefully the doctors can do what they can and, help them pull through so that death toll doesn't go up anymore. Because that's there's no words, honestly. I have no words to describe how insane that number is and just the entire situation. 153 people dead because of how hyped a bunch of people were about a Halloween celebration, and no one in their right fucking mind had the slight common sense to kind of vent people through the alleyway. No, there was nobody kind of blocking the alleyway off and kind of funneling people in properly. It was just everyone funneling in at once as much as they could. And that's the worst part. It was all just people being rammy, people being stupid. It wasn't like the Six Flags thing that happened, I want to say, a couple days ago, where over in Chicago, there was a shooting at a Six Flags that caused a bunch of Six Flags patrons to just bolt towards the exits. It was chaotic, but it was nothing like that. It was people just having fun, being stupid, being drunk, and they didn't even think about, oh, well, there's a bunch of people funneling in here. Wow, that alley looks rather small. Some of them didn't think, let's stay out of that area because it looks like it's getting pretty full. No, all of them were like, let's fucking funnel into that area, even though it's such a small little area, and potentially kill ourselves. And that's exactly what happened. So my thoughts are with the South Korean people right now, especially the citizens of Seoul, especially the families of those who have been affected and or killed in the catastrophic event. Obviously, it's tragic. It's incredibly tragic. It's very preventable. It was incredibly preventable. It was incredibly tragic. It was even more tragic over the fact that there was police on scene ready to take control of the situation. There just wasn't enough. There was EMS, ambulances and everything on scene just in case people got hurt, but there wasn't enough. There was a doctor who was on scene. I'm not going to say the name because Korean names fucking confuse me unless I'm actually reading them out. But the doctor on scene even admitted, he's like, the chaos started off, we had 2 people laying on the floor, or on the ground, on the pavement or whatever, that I had to deal with, that I had to do like cardiopulmonary resuscitation to, CPR. And all of a sudden he said, next thing you know, at the snap of a finger, I look back up and it's completely tripled. And it's getting to the point where the amount of people laying on the pavement that need help, way beyond the amount of fucking EMS that showed up or that was available. He even said, he's like, it completely outnumbered first responders. That's how insane it was. There was civilians who came out uninjured helping with CPR. That's how many people were hurt or dying because of this tragic event. But anyway, like I said, my thoughts are with the people of Seoul and, the families affected by this. And I will admit it, a very preventable tragedy. But nonetheless, it's still tragic. It's still heartbreaking because a lot of these people were young adults, teenagers, young adults, of all those of the like, even some that are like in their early 30s. We're just out having fun for the first time in 3 years. They didn't expect for what to happen. So anyway, that's that for the whole South Korean situation. As of right now, it's 153 people dead, I believe. And yeah, and as of recording this, I just got a fucking thing on my phone. Apparently a fucking bridge collapse in India just killed 30 people. So this Halloween has turned into a complete fucking clusterfuck. So anyway, let's move on because I'm going to end up talking about that Indian one too, because that's serious, but I'll do a mini on that. I'll do a mini on all the tragedies that are going to eventually happen this fucking Halloween weekend. So let's be real. Anyway, let's move on to the actual fights. The reason why you guys watch this podcast or listen to it, depending on what you guys are doing, whether it's on Spotify or on YouTube. Speaking of which, I need to get back to the YouTube grind. It's just getting the audio files into the fucking, the video, editing them. For some reason, my editing software is being stupid. I have to figure out what the fuck's going on with it. Once I do that, I'm going to get back on that YouTube grind and all the episodes will be back on YouTube. Until then, you're going to listen to my sweet, sultry voice on Spotify and on Anchor and whatever podcast service you guys listen to this on. So, let's get into the first of the fights before I get into the actual UFC. Let's just talk about the 3 fights quickly because I'm going to be spending a lot of my time talking about Kattar versus fucking Allen because the card was actually surprisingly good despite, a lot of no-namers for a lot of casual fans. The card delivered. It was great. A lot of the fights were incredibly fast-paced or action-packed. A lot of finishes, so we'll get to that. But first, Paul versus Silva happened last night as well. And wow, what a card. Weird to say the least. A lot of professional boxers made their, either debuts or just, fought yet again on this card. But the 3 fights I wanted to talk about specifically were Chris Avila versus Dr. Mike. Yeah, I said that. I said that was an actual fight that happened. Levon Bell, yes, NFL player Levon Bell, going up against Uriah Hall. And then obviously the main event, which was retarded Spurgfest man Jake Paul going up against MMA legend Anderson Silva. So let's talk about the first one of those three. Chris Avila versus Dr. Mikhail Kovashevsky. Dr. Mike, for those who know him on YouTube. Wow. I just gotta say, Dr. Mike showed that he's got a chin and that he's got heart. But Chris Avila, from fucking round 1 to round 4, beat the ever-loving daylights out of Dr. Mike. And I almost want to, laugh at Dr. Mike, because you damn well know he took this fight thinking that he was on top of the world after beating fucking iDubbbz. iDubbbz. Right? He couldn't even knock out iDubbbz. But yet, he, instead of taking, I don't know, the next step up, which would have been another YouTuber that may have been boxing for 1 or 2 fights. No, let's go after the professional boxer that's got 3 fights, 4 fights in now, and was a former UFC fighter who also trains with the fucking Diaz brothers. Yeah, let's pick that guy out. So, dumb choice by Dr. Mike, and he got the fucking daylights beat out of him. It was hilarious to watch. I love Dr. Mike. He's a good guy. Good YouTuber, very, very knowledgeable in his field. But when it comes to boxing, he seemed a little too full of himself when it was leading into the whole iDubbbz situation. And then after he won, he seemed a little too full of himself. So it was like, dude, slow your roll. You just beat a YouTuber, and now you're going up against a former UFC fighter and a professional boxer. And look what happened. I'll give you credit. You didn't get knocked out, and that could also be on Chris Avila's part. Maybe he doesn't have enough power to put, the show away. But I'll give you credit. You have heart and you have chin, but you were completely outclassed by a guy with an 8-9 fucking MMA record. So, yeah. So that was the first fight that I wanted to talk about. The second fight was a peculiar one where Levon Bell and Uriah Hall were both making their boxing debuts. And I'm a little disappointed in Uriah Hall, someone who is primarily known in the UFC as a kickboxer, primarily known for his striking. A lot of it hand speed. Yes, some of it is his kick speed, but a lot of it is his hand speed. And he prides himself in being a boxing instructor. For someone like that with all those credentials, he won, mind you. He won in a very dominant decision, but he didn't throw anything more than single strikes. He would throw a jab. He would throw a right hand, but he wouldn't throw combos. He wouldn't try to set those extra shots up with combos. He would throw a jab to the body and then back up, take a picture basically, and then throw a jab to the face, back up, take a picture, throw a right hand, back up, take a picture. There was no combos. He still outstruck Levon Bell because, better movement and everything, but there was literally no combos whatsoever thrown in that fight. And it looked so lackluster. But gotta give credit where credit's due. Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. Very boring match. Very boring fight. It seemed like the two guys were sparring. But I gotta give it to Jake. Jake managed to knock down Anderson Silva near the end there and squeak himself out a decision. A lot of people were saying that Jake was in control. No, he was not. Looking at the judges' scorecards, looking at a lot of the actual, the combat sports analyst scorecards, a lot of them had it 76-75 Paul. It was a very, very close fight. So to the editor on Tapology that said that it was dominant for Jake, shut your fucking mouth and keep gargling the Paul brothers nuts. It wasn't fucking dominant. It was a rather close fight that, honestly, he was about to lose if he didn't score that 10-8 round. I'm going to be honest with you. I genuinely think Anderson would have won a very close decision, based on all the scorecards that I've seen, had that knockdown not happened. Because if you guys don't know, with boxing, it's different with MMA. You can score a knockdown and it still won't be a 10-8 round for some reason. But with boxing, the moment you score a knockdown, it immediately turns into a 10-8 round, like a snap of the fucking finger like that. So it became a 10-8 round, and I think that won Jake the fight. So credit where credit's due. Jake got the knockdown, he's got the power, and he managed to squeak out a decision. And he managed to have a rather close fight with one of the greatest kickboxers in MMA fucking history, who has some of the most elusive hands You know what I mean? Like, Anderson Silva has been prided for years and years and years as one of the greatest strikers in combat sports history. And he had a very close fight with that man and knocked him down. So I'll give credit where credit's due. I'm pissed that Jake won, but I got to give credit where credit's due. But to the people who are saying it was dominant and to the judges' scorecards that said it was dominant, you guys need to give your heads a fucking shake, because I think some of you haven't been watching boxing for that long, or you guys were just so fucking hyper-focused on Jake Paul that your cocks were so rock hard for him. Because it was closer than the judges let on, because a lot of people who were watching, including boxing analysts, were like, what are these judges' scorecards? It should be closer than that. Yeah, Paul won, but it should be closer than that. You know what I mean? But anyway, Paul won. Silva admitted that he didn't, he tried to work his game plan and didn't do very well. And he gave credit where credit's due as well. So Jake, not exactly proving himself as a boxer, but as an athlete, as a combat sports athlete so far, he's proving himself. He's proving that he's taking it seriously. He's training hard, and that's great. That is great to see. I love seeing that, because at first I thought it was just Jake taking the piss and trying to make easy money. No, he's taking the training seriously. He's getting way better at the craft more and more each time he fights. Is he still doing it for money and taking the piss? When it comes to actual, like, the fights he chooses? Yeah, fuck yeah, he is. He's choosing some dog shit fights. But a lot of people getting mad about that, again, don't know much about boxing, because I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the boxing greats padded their fucking records leading up to their first title shot. They were fighting dudes who were like 19-12 or 6-11, shit like that. And they were main eventing with these guys. They were padding their records way before Jake Paul was doing it. So, like I said, I'm mad that Paul won, but credit where credit's due. The guy's taking it seriously. The guy's getting better at his craft. You can't really talk shit about him. You can talk shit about the opponents he's choosing, because he's choosing retired MMA fighters and stuff, but you can't talk shit about his skill prowess at this point. Yeah, sure, he's still like semi-pro level, he's not Canelo level, but he's getting better. There's no way that you can deny that he's not decent at fucking boxing. He knows what he's doing. His combos are crisp. He's taking it seriously. Like, that's all I'm going to leave it on. Anyway, after that, we're going to move into the UFC now, but first, as always, it's a message from my lovely sponsor, one of my favorite drinks besides Pepsi, Dubby. So let's get into that. Before we get into the podcast, I just want to talk to you guys about my new sponsor, Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a powdered energy drink that is actually a clean energy drink that's made to give you a focus with no crash or jitters or any angst that the other energy drinks on the market give you. They're also made with no maltodextrin fillers. They don't use any artificial dyes or any coloring, anything like that. And on top of that, Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, nootropics, and caffeine that keeps you going. And on top of that, it's gluten-free. So if you're worried about your gluten intake, it's okay. These guys got you covered. And if you're worried about it coming out of a facility that's not FDA approved or FDA inspected, these guys, they're doing it legit. Their product's made in an FDA inspected facility, and their product is FDA approved. So if you want to try any of these awesome flavors, because let's be honest, I'm about to tell you this, their flavors are all unique. You're not going to find a flavor anywhere else, only here at Dubby. So if you want to try 3 of their awesome new flavors in a starter pack with your own mixer cup, go on their website, pick the starter pack. It's $14.99. If you want to get 10% off of it, use Dillo's Dojo at checkout. That's DILLOS DOJO at checkout for 10% off. Once again, I want to thank Dubby for sponsoring the podcast. Anyway, enjoy your Dubby drink if you manage to use my code. Let's get back to the fights, folks. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, let's fucking jump into the fights. We had quite a card, not name brand wise, but just fight wise. Like, for more hardcore fans, they look at these fights and they're like, yeah, man, these guys bang, these guys fucking swing, man, let's do it. I love these fights. So we had a lot of those, which is awesome. I love cards that, provide us with those. They're just little fight night cards anyway, so we're not expecting huge name value. So I love when the fights deliver, and they did. The first fight was Christian Rodriguez versus Joshua Weems, which I believe was supposed to be a bantamweight bout, but they ended up, one of them fucking, I think Weems actually weighed in of like over 4.5 pounds over the limit, or 3.5 pounds over the limit. So they had to make it a catch weight last minute. And still, Christian Rodriguez Anaconda chokes his ass after getting taken down and dominated on the ground. He just reverses that shit and chokes Joshua Weems out for his troubles, saying, hey, fuck you, make weight next time, and chokes him out in the first round with a beautiful and slick Anaconda choke. The fight I want to talk about, though, is Cody Durden versus Carlos Mota. First of all, and I doubt he listens to this, but I hope Cody Durden does. You're a racist piece of shit, and you got fucking lucky. You played the bitchiest fucking game plan, and I hope that one day you get fucking starched again. Muhammad Mokaev taking your fucking arm in 59 seconds was the most fucking satisfying thing to watch, because you basically pouted like a little bitch after. And the fact that you couldn't finish Carlos, even though Carlos came in on 4 days' notice, had to cut 20 fucking pounds in those 4 days. Less, actually, because he had to start while fucking traveling, while flying. Fuck you, Cody Durden. This fight was awesome, because Carlos Mota, despite getting fucking taken down like Cody Durden was a wannabe fucking Dagestani, Carlos fucking reversed that shit and threatened with submissions constantly. There was at least 3 or 4 times in the fight where Carlos almost had an armbar or a fucking Kimura or something, and almost had Durden fucking tapping like a little pussy. And I love it. Sorry if I sound aggressive, I just fucking hate Cody Durden. Like, genuinely fucking hate Cody Durden. His face is the most annoying fucking face I've ever looked at, and his fucking personality is so fucking boring and cookie cutter. And on top of that, he's a racist cunt. An unapologetic racist cunt. So, fuck him. And honestly, better luck next time, Carlos, my boy, because he deserved a way better fucking... like, way better circumstances coming into this. His UFC debut was on 4 fucking days' notice, and Durden still fucking struggled with him. Imagine if he fought Durden on a full fucking camp. I genuinely, and I believe this from the deepest depths of my fucking heart, Carlos Mota would have fucking steamrolled Durden with a full training camp and a full game plan. He would have fucking bent Durden over, took a fucking Moby Huge, and shoved that shit up Durden's ass, and Durden wouldn't have done anything about it because he wouldn't have been able to. And there. That's my fucking review of the Durden versus Mota fight. Mota would have fucking made him his little fucking prison bitch if Durden didn't decide to be Dagestani. Durden did nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was only one good shot that Durden landed, and I'll give him credit for it. He landed a right hand that, I don't know, it seemed like it hurt Carlos. It might have not, but immediately after hitting the right hand, he just fucking hugs him into a takedown. Immediately. Like a little bitch. Hurts him and then takes him to a takedown. Like a little bitch. So, fuck you, Cody Durden. Fuck you. I hope you lose your next 2 fights and Dana decides you don't deserve to be here anymore. Because fuck you. Literally, fuck you. Anyway, after that rant, next fight was old man Steve Garcia going up against Chase Hooper, the young gun. A lot of people surprisingly counted Steve Garcia out of this one. A lot of people were expecting Chase Hooper to take this down to the ground and make Garcia tap. Man, did Garcia look at everyone and say, fuck you guys, I'm going to prove you wrong. I love Chase Hooper for the record, but the way that Steve Garcia did him dirty was embarrassing. Steve Garcia, in less than 90 seconds, knocked him down 3 times. I think in total there was like 4 or 5 knockdowns before the finish, and that was in 92 seconds. In 92 seconds, he knocked Chase Hooper down like 4 times and then finished him on the ground with punches. Literally. Like, beat the shit out of him. Steve Garcia has hands, is what I'm trying to say. Steve Garcia has fucking dynamite for hands, and he showed it. Either that or Chase Hooper just has a suspect chin. But, man, fuck. Steve Garcia with one of the best performances of the night. But that's not all, man. That's not all. Then we had Joseph Holmes versus Park Jun-young, and Park Jun-young comes in dominating Joseph Holmes on the feet, takes him to the ground where his game is the strongest, and just the whole fight takes his back and just threatens a rear naked choke after rear naked choke, landing punches after punches, flattening him out. Did the same thing in the second round until around 3 minutes in, he finally lands the submission after flattening him out and just slipping it under that chin. Oh, it was a beautiful fucking showing. And then if that wasn't enough, we had Marcos Rogerio de Lima coming in and just upsetting the win streak of legend Andrei Arlovsky. He came in throwing bombs, both of them, man. Like, I want to say the first fucking couple seconds, They were closing the distance, swinging fucking haymakers back and forth. And then, I don't know if it was like it just clipped him on the chin or it hit him in the chest, but a punch landed by Rogerio de Lima where it knocked Andrei Arlovski down. And that was like the rest of the fucking fight. Was them on the ground and Rogerio de Lima landing punches on punches, Arlovski trying to get back up and shit. And it got to the point where Rogerio de Lima quickly took the back, slipped the rear naked choke in, forced the tap. It was upsetting, but it was quick. It was a great showing by Rogerio de Lima. Like, my God, man, he made short work of Andrei Arlovski. And if that wasn't enough for your fucking quench of finishes, we had a brutal, and I'm talking brutal finish to headline the prelims on ESPN+. We had Roman Dolidze versus Philip Hawes. Holy fuck. The knockout, dude. The knockout. Holy fuck. Roman Dolidze completely just landing bombs on Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes was landing some bombs too, but you could tell Dolidze's shots, man, were just hurting Phil Hawes. Like, at one point, I want to say 3 minutes in, he's got Phil Hawes on fucking baby deer legs with the shots he's landing. And it's showing, like, that damage, that type of damage is wearing on Phil Hawes. Close to the end of the round, Roman Dolidze lands a fucking combo as Phil Hawes is backing up, lands clean, and Phil Hawes just fucking flatlined, completely flattened on the canvas, out cold. It was, my God, it was brutal. That was a great way to headline the prelims. And then if we didn't get that, we had what seemed like a controversial decision to start up the main card. So we had Dustin Jacoby versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. And gonna be honest, the fight was rather close, but watching it, and I even watched it back this morning, I think Dustin Jacoby did more than Khalil Roundtree did. From what it looked like, Khalil Roundtree won one round, and that was the first round. After that, Dustin Jacoby really picked it up and won the last 2 rounds. And that was unanimous on everyone's scorecards. Everyone except the judges. All 3 judges saw it the same way for Khalil Roundtree for some reason, which ended up being a 29-28 decision. I don't know where they got that, but Khalil Roundtree started to fade after the first round. Dustin Jacoby put up the pressure starting in the second round and did not let up going into the third round. Like, it was showing that it was wearing on Khalil Roundtree. So I genuinely don't understand where that decision came from, but a lot of people were just as upset as they were with the whole Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley decision. But we've already covered that in last week's episode. If you want to hear my take on it, go listen to it. Because I'm not here to go on and on and on about how Peter Yan just was supposed to win that, but he got robbed. Like, I'm not going to go on about it. My opinion, my whole ass opinion, is in last week's episode. So if you want to listen to that, go right ahead. But I'm just saying that I think Dustin Jacoby got robbed. I don't think Khalil Roundtree... Actually, I think Khalil Roundtree... No, never mind. I was fucking remembering it wrong. Never mind. They read the decision out for Dustin Jacoby. And now that I'm remembering that, because I just had to stop and think. Now that I'm remembering that, why the fuck was it so controversial? I just went on about how it was controversial. The right guy that I watched won. What the fuck? No. Because I had to stop and think. I was like, wait. Who got the decision? I had to remember what the fucking ring announcer said. I literally had to think for a moment and remember what the ring announcer said. It was Dustin Jacoby that won. Like, even on everyone's scorecards, Dustin Jacoby won. What's the issue? I don't get the whatever. Going on to the next one, we had probably one of the nastiest submissions I have ever laid eyes on. Not because of how crazy it was, just because of how fucking gruesome it was, man. So Tresean Gore, I've covered Tresean Gore so many times on this podcast. If you're a long time listener, then you know Tresean Gore is from the 29th season of The Ultimate Fighter. He was the finalist, lost in the finals against Brian Battle, but he then lost another fight after that, so he's now 4-2. He was a lot of people were expecting Josh Fremd to make him 4-3, and that's how it was looking come the first round, because Josh Fremd was just pouring it on and actually landed a couple good takedowns on Tresean Gore and just kind of stole the round from him in the first round. But the second round, it was like the Dustin Jacoby tried to, or not Dustin Jacoby, sorry, Josh Fremd tried to go for another one. And as he's going for the takedown, Trayshawn Gore sinks in the guillotine. And instead of finishing the takedown, Josh Fremd tries to get out of it. But holy fuck. Like I said, this is probably one of the most gruesome fucking submissions I've ever seen. Nothing broke. Just how Trayshawn Gore took his neck, took Josh Fremd's neck, and lifted him. Lifted him. I'm not exaggerating here. Lifted him off the fucking ground as he fucking was choking him and flipped him on his back and just squeezed. Did that inverted guillotine afterwards as they landed on the ground and just squeezed. I'm very positive that Trayshawn Gore just disconnected the man's fucking neck from his body. Holy fuck. He went out cold. This wasn't a tap. Josh Fremd didn't tap. He went out cold. Arms went limp. He was eyes wide open, staring at the fucking sky like he was seeing Jesus. It was brutal. Holy fuck, man. But that's where the cool submissions, the cool knockouts end, because the next two fights we had some decisions. Waldo Cortez Acosta was making his debut after being on the Contender Series, and Jared Vanderaa was there to spoil the show. Well, Jared Vanderaa didn't do fuck all, because Waldo Cortez did a lot more on the feet and on the ground, and just completely outpointed Jared Vanderaa in an all-around, balanced affair. It was literally striking on the feet, striking on the ground, grappling on the feet, and in every goddamn fucking area of that was all was all fucking Cortez Acosta. Sorry. Holy fuck, dude. It was a really good debut, but just rather boring. That's why I'm saying holy fuck, dude. It was rather boring. And then we got Max Griffin versus Tim Means, which was a rather fun fight, actually. And I'm surprised there was no Fight of the Night award, given out, because this was a pretty fun fight to watch. I don't know, maybe I have a different opinion than everybody else, but it was a really fun fight to watch. However, the decision was right, in my opinion. I think Max Griffin won. I just think the actual scores were weird. He won via a split decision. Whatever, it was a close fight. Could have went either way. It's the scores that he won with. You'd think it was a 29-28 split decision. No. One of the scores he got was 30-27. One of the I don't know how you can get a split. Well, one of the judges saw you win all 3 rounds. What the fuck? I've never understood that. That's happened a lot, man. That's happened a lot. More than you could fucking imagine. And I'm still, to this day, do not understand how 2 judges can see it 2-1 for either guy. But then the one judge sees it 3-0 for the one guy. What the fuck? Where's that coming from? What? If that was the case, it should be unanimous, right? Both guys should see it 29-28 for one guy and then 30-27 for the one guy. It shouldn't be a split, but it was, and I think it was deservedly so to be a split. It's just the score, man. The scorecard. That one judge. Just what the fuck? What were you smoking, man? But anyway. Holy fuck. The main event. It ended in the most anticlimactic way. However, I gotta give it to Calvin Kattar. If he was gonna blow his knee out, he did it in one of the most macho ways possible. But I still hated how this ended. Arnold Allen ended up winning via a knee injury. A TKO via knee injury, because Calvin Kattar, being Calvin Kattar, I don't know why he did it, threw a flying knee at the beginning of the first or the second round, and I guess he landed wrong on it because it blew out his knee. He dropped, groaned, clearly winced, and the ref put a stop to it. The only thing I can think of is when he came up and then landed after throwing the flying knee, he landed wrong and his knee twisted or something, and then it blew. Coming from someone who's had ACL surgery, who's blown out their ACL, that's not fun, first of all. So I can see why the fight ended via the knee injury. Second of all, that has to be the most macho way that someone's blown their ACL out. Because no, you didn't check a leg kick. You didn't back up on it wrong. You threw a fucking flying knee and then landed on it wrong. That's cool as fuck. I blew my ACL out because I slipped on a goddamn wet floor that I mopped and put the wet floor sign down for. So, like, you're already one ahead of me, Calvin. Let's be real here. Like, your knee injury is already way cooler than mine. But yeah, no, it was just such an unfortunate way to end the fight, man. Like, I was expecting fireworks because Arnold Allen is an all-around mixed martial artist. Incredible in every aspect. But one of his biggest things, one of his biggest strengths that he doesn't really rely on a lot as of recently is his hands, his striking. He's got immaculate striking. I love it. But so does Calvin Kattar. So I was expecting an absolute brawl. And the first round was rather technical, both guys trying to feel each other out. It was the second round that was kind of slated. It was looking, by the way the fight was going, the second round was going to be the start of the brawl. And unfortunately, we didn't get that brawl. So, unfortunate way to end the fight. I do hope that they reschedule it. Arnold Allen, he was celebrating, but you could tell, even when he was on the cage going like, woo, yeah, you could tell, like, in his face, he was like, I don't know if I should be celebrating about this. Like, yeah, I won, but, like, at what cost? You know what I mean? So, you know, good on Arnold Allen for not, you know, running with it. He also seemed very upset that that's how he won. But, unfortunate way to end the night, but it had to happen. One quick thing before I go, big ups to Leon Edwards' little brother for catching the unanimous decision win over Charlie Ward. With that, he definitely earned himself a title shot. So we may have two Edwards brothers champions in North American MMA. We'll have, hopefully, Fabian as the Bellator champion, and then hopefully, for years to come, we'll have Leon Edwards remain the UFC welterweight champion. So that'll be cool. But anyway, big ups to him. That's it for this episode. We had a lot to talk about. I apologize for my little rant about Cody Durden. It's just I fucking hate the guy, and the fact that he beat one of my favorite fighters of all time, like one of my favorite regional fighters of all time, by such a bitch-ass fucking game plan. Yeah, no, I'm not cool at all. Like, that pissed me off. But, and sorry for messing up the whole Dustin Jacoby Khalil Roundtree thing. I was wondering to myself why it kept sounding wrong when I was talking about it. So that's why, like, I had to think about it, and then it clicked to me. I was like, no, wait, Justin Jacoby got announced the winner. That was my bad. I completely remembered it wrong. But anyway, yeah, it was a great card, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know we didn't talk about anything cool or interesting at the beginning. It was more upsetting, more heartbreaking, more tragic, but I felt I had to talk about it, kind of raise some awareness towards it, because I see news outlets talking about it and stuff, but I don't see them talking about it enough. And it's very much getting fucking pushed by the wayside by a bunch of Hollywood news and everything and anything. So, you know, I kind of wanted to bring more attention to it because it's heartbreaking, man. Nobody ever wants their celebrations, their commercial holidays or whatever, to be overshadowed by, you know, tragedy. You know what I mean? So anyway, my hearts and thoughts, my prayers, anything, all my thoughts literally are with the South Korean people and the Indian people, especially the family of the 30 who were killed on the bridge that collapsed. My heart is with every single one of them. And, you know, I hope to God, after I'm done recording this, I don't read anything else about any more fucking tragedies that happen on Halloween, because I don't know if my poor little heart can take it. But anyway, I will see you guys in the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your week because it's going to be a long one. Peace out, guys.
You've been listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Keep in touch with Dillo on his social media at Dillo Ross on Twitter and Dillo Ross on Instagram.